Welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals post-game show brought to you by our friends at Bet365. I'm Johnny Venerable, the playmaker, Brittan, Golden, Damon, Dawg behind the mic, Brack live from State Farm Stadium. In just a little bit, this is your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Cardinals not at their premier self today, dropping their second game of the young season, Brittan, by the final score of 20-13. And if you would have told me the Cardinals shut out the Lions in the second half after a really tough defensive performance, I would have said Cardinals are winning this by 2 scores, yet we sit here, and the Arizona Cardinals, who can they point their finger at? I think it's the offense.
Offense is, yeah, that's where it goes in the second half. I mean, you didn't move the ball. You weren't consistent with it. The defense gave you, 6-7 possessions in the second half alone. Yep. Yes, the run defense wasn't great all game long, but in the second half, 0 points were scored by the Lions in the second half.
Yep.
0 points. The defense did everything they were supposed to do. We can sit here and talk about their run defense, whatever you want to talk about, but they did exactly what they got off the field. They gave Kyler Murray and the offense opportunities. I thought play calling was a little bit different than it was last week. I mean, I get it. You tried to force feed Marvin, but I think there were some throws underneath that could have been hit that would have kept drives alive, but offense lost this game.
Drop a like on this video. Remember to keep tabs on our friends at Bet365. Never Ordinary. Check them out at Bet365 is the app to download. We're going to check in on our picks later in the show. Of course, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT STEP to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov for more information. The information I want to key on today, this Arizona Cardinal offense was fabulous to begin the game, and then poof, went away. Not efficient enough. And I think, again, we're going to see probably some ebbs and flows to start this year, Brittan Golden, from a team that, again, did not prioritize the preseason. Like, it's funny, you look around the NFL landscape, Cardinals were one of the few offenses to begin 2024 not starting slow, right? They had looked great against Buffalo for the most part. They looked fantastic against LA. And then this is a game where they started fast and couldn't adjust. And you can say, where was Jonah Williams or Kelvin Beachum? All I know is they had 10 of their 11 starters offensively for the large majority of this game and couldn't do anything. I still look at this team, and they need more time to bake in the oven. That doesn't mean I'm selling my Cardinal stock this year. I think there are a lot of positives to take away from this game. I think Cardinals defensively played their best football maybe of the year, shutting out Detroit. I think over the last 8 quarters of football, this defense has given up 30 points. It's fantastic. 15 points per game the last 2 weeks. But we were talking about this off air. As great as Kyler Murray was last week, he was inaccurate today, and specifically 11 targets for Marvin Harrison Jr., only 5 receptions. As good as that tandem can be at times, and we saw it on that opening drive, they still need more time to bake in the oven.
Well, it's just you got a young receiver, a young rookie receiver. You got a quarterback that was hurt for the majority of last season coming back. Yeah, they had a full offseason. They had this. We didn't see him much in the preseason. But this isn't a connection that just shows up, randomly. You're not just going to show up with a rookie wide receiver and have a Kurt Warner, Larry Fitzgerald, type connection yet. It's going to build. It's going to come. You can see that the targets that they've changed from week 1 to where the last couple weeks what we've seen, the targets are coming to Marvin. Now we just got to find ways to connect.
Yeah.
You can see that it's close. It's right there.
It's very close.
It's just it's a game of inches. Yeah, you got an inch here. The ball's thrown a little high here. The ball's thrown a little outside here. Back shoulder, they're not completely on par yet with that back shoulder fade. You can see Kyler is trying to get it in there. And the ball, it's not bad. Like I said, it's just it's a slight miss. It's a slight miss here, a slight miss there. They're close. It's going to happen. It's going to continue to develop the longer this season goes. You would love to see it happen sooner than later. especially winning games. The NFL, you got to win games to keep it. But I mean, today was just a little bit inconsistent on that point. We just didn't see that connection.
I think the frustrating part is if you would have told Cardinal fans before this game that, really Aiden Hutchinson would be a non-factor until the fourth quarter, you would have taken that Detroit would be shut out in the second half en route to 20 points. You would have taken that. And that for the most part, like, time of possession was what it was, but both teams gave the ball away once. Like, Cardinals had this game available to them. They just couldn't take it and run with it. Very similar to the second half against Buffalo. And that is the growing pains of a young team. And give Detroit credit. Like we mentioned, MHJ and his inability to consistently connect with K1. But, Trey McBride, which we saw had a scary collision to end the game. We hope he's okay. Only 3 catches today for 25 yards. Elijah Higgins, James Conner, non-factors. Outside of Marvin, what you got from Michael Wilson, I mean, it was a really pedestrian to below average day offensively for the Arizona Cardinals. And so the good news is that I believe they'll go back just like after week 1 and they'll look at what worked and specifically what didn't work. And you have an opportunity to jump right back into this thing against a bad Washington team next week at your building. But what you can't do is sit here and say, like, well, this is what the team is. Clearly, they have deficiencies defensively that they're going to have to play up to their capabilities. And then offensively, that, yes, they have a ton of talent, but even this talented team can have lapses offensively where it just doesn't look right.
Yeah, you're right. And at the same, like, play calling is a part of this, right? There's play calls. I mean, regardless, you got to execute whatever play's called. It's
right.
the NFL. You gotta execute the play when it's called, but play calling factors in, as well as, just making the play work. And we just missed. We just didn't connect on passes. Our run game was completely non-existent today. I mean, it was very Connor probably averaged 2 yards a carry maybe today. Yep. It was just not offensively just didn't look the same as what we saw last week. I mean, and you can't put the blame on anything about offensive line wise, because yes, we started this game with a 3rd string right tackle. We ended this game with a 4th string right tackle.
Right.
And Aiden Hutchinson had 1 sack, and it came in the 4th quarter on the left side.
Yeah.
So it had offensive line played outstanding today, especially when you have a backup's backup on the right tackle spot. Offensive line played great. The offense as a whole, skill player position.
I mean, Kyler Murray had a lot of time to throw.
He had time.
Yeah.
And he made throws and he missed throws. And you can sit here in the chat and say he's trash and however you want, because the only reason you're saying that is because we lost the game. That's it. If we'd have won the game, it'd have been like, oh, Kyler made a few mistakes, but it's okay. It's to the point where if you watched any football today, the top quarterbacks sucked today. Everybody did. Dak Prescott looked awful until the 4th quarter. And now I looked on the stat line. I think Dak had 100 yards and he finished with almost 400. It's nobody played well today.
Well,
it's the NFL. There's days you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days.
I think Detroit is what the Cardinals aspire to be. They just do it better right now. And I think a large part of that is personnel, right? Like the Cardinals wanted to run the ball today. They had James Conner carry the ball 9 times inefficiently, not to his detriment here, 1.9 yards per carry. They had to get away from it. Then you look at Detroit, Montgomery and Gibbs combined for almost 200 yards rushing. That's what Jared Goff had to operate with. Whereas Kyler Murray, no run game, he's going to look a little bit more inefficient than he has in weeks prior. The run game is a big part of what the Cardinals want to do. And when your offensive line, which we feel like is the strength of this team, gets pushed around a little bit in this game, and you can't move people around, and you've got to pivot, it becomes very difficult for this Cardinal team to consistently sustain drives. Like, I was on our halftime show calling for more deep shots, and they took them, but the disconnect and the drops, Greg Dortch had a drop, Trey McBride had a drop, to end a possession. Marvin had a couple balls where you thought maybe he could come down with them, and then Kyler Murray was high on a lot of passes. They let this game get away from them offensively. It felt like, had they even gotten like 4 or 5 more possessions, like, does anybody think they would have scored? Like, they just did not have it today. And it's a testament to Detroit. A lot of people in the chat pointing this out. This is a team that we assume is going to contend this year in the NFC. Aaron Glenn has had head coaching interviews as a defensive coordinator for the Lions. And again, like, it's just what's tough to stomach is your defense played so over their heads in the second half. And Hutchinson was not a factor in terms of consistently pressuring Kyler Murray. You had the recipe to win today. And unfortunately, just this offense could not find enough rhythm to get it done. That was it.
And it's like I said, listen, there's good days and there's bad days. Everybody has bad days. Everybody has good days. It's just about moving forward, right? This has to go in the rearview mirror. You got to get back to the drawing board with Petzing, Kyler, the entire offense. I mean, like I said, the offensive line played wonderfully today.
Yeah.
Defense played out of their minds in the second half. This is just coming back to getting in the field room and understanding, like, hey, we didn't play good enough to win this game. What can we do differently offensively as a skill position to find a way to not let this happen again?
Yep.
Right?
Drive of the game presented by our friends at Sanderson Ford was unfortunately for the Cardinals' first drive of the game. Cardinals, Kyler Murray, 5 for 5 en route to a touchdown pass. To tell me if you heard this before, Marvin Harrison Jr. to tie things up at 7-all. And again, that drive, not super efficient offensively running the football outside of a Kyler Murray scramble. But, I watched that first drive of this game and I thought this is going to be like a 45-42 shootout. And it was the opposite. The over didn't hit in this game. There were 33 total points done. But, I mean, where do you believe the disconnect is right now with Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr.? Because, we even mentioned, like, Kyler, I think, got MHJ happy in the second half that led to an interception in the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, the disconnect can be anything. You really want to talk about it. It's to the point of you heard all the media and the talk, and you're not getting MHJ the ball enough and this and that. I think that kind of plays a factor into these double coverage throws, right? One, he's your number one, right? So we can look at it any way you want to look at it. You can go back to the history of the NFL since they started throwing the ball consistently.
Yeah.
You've got a number one on the field. I can tell you this. When Larry Fitzgerald was playing when I was here, he was double and triple covered. If Carson had trouble and didn't know where to go with the football, he would throw it up to the one guy he knows is going to try to make this play. And did it end well every time? No. We threw interceptions, right? I mean, I feel like this fan base as a whole just wants to batter Kyler Murray when things don't go right. And it's like, you can say what you want about it. You can act like you want about it, but you're sitting at home on the couch. You don't like looking at interceptions on the sideline either. Nobody does. But it's going to happen. I said this on the halftime show. The guys on the other side of the football are getting paid the same. These are all immaculate athletes. They're elite athletes. The stuff is going to happen. Yes, Kyler got a little tunnel vision. He got a little bit of it. But that's going to happen when you have your number one. You're going to try to force things when you don't feel comfortable throwing it to somebody else. This is who I want to throw it to because I feel like this is the guy that's going to find a way to make a play for me. Well, is it great? No, but it's going to happen.
I don't think anybody in the chat here would dispute and we said this all week. The Lions have a better 53-man roster in the NFL than the Cardinals do. Like, we broke that down all week. They've got an elite offensive line. It showed. They ran the ball basically whenever they wanted to. And then defensively, like, they've got a pass rush where the Cardinals consistently do not. But the trump card has to be your quarterback. And, like, I thought Kyler and Goff played about the same, with Goff maybe playing a little bit better. But, again, how much was aided by the run game? Like, Kyler Murray to beat the Lions today would have had to play like he played last week. Like,
think about it. When you have your leading rusher was your quarterback with 45 yards rushing.
Right. You had no semblance of a run game today.
That is what opens up your pass game, right? The fact that he was thrown into double coverage is because the Lions knew we can double here. We can double there. We can play with 4 guys back here, right? We can rush 8. We can play with 3 guys in the backfield because they can't run the football.
Yeah.
When you can't run the ball, the pass game is hard because now they know they have to throw this ball, right? Now you're dropping 8. You're dropping 6, 7, 8 DBs. You know what I'm saying? Because why not? They can't run the football. We'll just rush 3. We'll leave everybody back.
Brutal. Tough. And then again, like we talked about it at halftime, put it in the show title, like the officiating. I know the Lions had more penalties than the Cardinals, but the Cardinals had multiple major plays taken away from them. Kyler Murray scrambles for a first down on a 4th down play. They call it back and reverse it when there was not indisputable evidence, in my opinion. And then, of course, the biggest play of the game, the non-call, but right before the 2-minute warning where the Mack Wilson gets a pick 6, like, Cardinals make that play, they probably win the game. But, I'm not going to sit here and say like, officiating cost them the game, but it's certainly attributed to the Lions having a lead when they did. But the Cardinals had every chance to take this game back into their control in the second half, and I mean, every time that the Cardinals would punt, I'd be like, here we go. Detroit's going to run down their throat and make another, devastating touchdown. It didn't happen. And so give credit where credit's due defensively. And that brings us to our X Factor player of the game today here on PHNX Cardinals. How about Dennis Gardeck? Pivoting off of his 3-sack performance last week. How about 3 tackles, a pass defended, and an INT from Jared Goff that the Cardinals, unfortunately, this goes back to my point. The Cardinals got a pick deep into Detroit territory and didn't score off of it. I mean, that was probably the biggest swing of the game. Gardeck has that interception after the Lions ran what was a befuddling buffoonery play of an end around that was negative yards, and then Goff throws it right to Gardeck. Like, I say what you want about K1, I thought that was a much more egregious pick than Kyler's interception. And then, Cardinals couldn't do anything with it, but give credit where credit's due. Zaven Collins, we could have put on here Mac Wilson, Budda Baker. Like, does the defensive tackle group need to play better? Yeah, and we're going to talk about that. But Dennis Gardeck, again, had a hell of a day.
I mean, it's back-to-back weeks.
Good for him. I'm a believer. Listen,
that hurts you, doesn't it?
It doesn't hurt me.
That hurts your soul.
A loss hurts me. I would love to be up here touting Dennis Gardeck as the player of the game in a dub.
Oh, yeah,
but here's what hurts especially is, like, he encapsulates this entire defense and how I feel about it. They overachieved today. They came out and outplayed the the Detroit Lions offense in the second half. And your strength of your team offensively, Drew Petzing, Kyler Murray and company, couldn't take advantage. That is brutal. You always want to win or lose, feeling like you put your best foot forward. Like, how many efforts are we going to feel like we're going to get like this from the Cardinal defense this year? I don't know how many more. I think if you're not winning these kind of games, it's going to be tough, man.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, like you said, there's not, you couldn't ask for more from the defensive side of the ball. I mean, the tackle for loss in the first half by Dennis right there inside the red zone was huge. The interception gave everybody in that stadium life, thinking, hey, this is the opportunity we have, and we just, peed down our leg. Didn't get the job done. So it's one of the things that especially when we talked about this beginning of the year, everybody was so worried, right? We don't have rushers. We don't have edge rushers. We don't have this. Is our defense good enough to handle it? Outside of a few plays this entire year, our defense has actually played tremendous for, all the battering that they got early in before the season started. So as an offense, you've got to find ways to consistently go out there and put the first half of Buffalo, the game last week, the first drive of this week, you've got to find a way to consistently put that out. If you can do that, you're going to win a lot of football games this year. If you can't, we're going to be sitting in the situation that we're sitting in right now, looking at a 1-score game that, yes, you can talk about. The 2-minute warning was egregious. That was brutal. That's awful. It's a 14-point swing, which in all reality, if you think about it, and that 2-minute doesn't get called right there, we're winning this game with 2 minutes left, 17-14, and the Lions are pushing to score a touchdown in this situation. So, it's a huge play that didn't work out for us. But at the same time, you had 6 to 7 opportunities offensively to get points in the second half, and the defense allowed 0 points, and you just did not get the job done.
This is going to be a big week for Drew Petzing and Kyler Murray to get on the same page and have a rebound offensive performance. And again, nothing gives me pause that they won't do that, because again, they have the weapons. Assuming Trey McBride is healthy and ready to go, which we had not heard yet. An update on Trey. We did note that the Cardinals' third-string right tackle is in a walking boot, so you hope that Kelvin Beachum probably is able to return next week. But again, like I think at the end of the day, is this a disappointing loss? Absolutely. Is this a loss that you can build on based on your defensive performance? And again, 1 step forward, maybe 2 steps back with this passing game? I think so. I also think you can make it big with our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, specifically our location at Wild Horse Pass. They've got 4 locations, the best experience the Valley has to offer. Lounge at either the AAA 4 Diamond Resorts, any of them really, and take relaxation to the next level. 4,500 slots, live table games, and more. Catch all the action, plus experience Arizona's largest sportsbook casino at Wild Horse Pass, where we will be for every single away game. Watch parties galore. Go big or go home. From upscale to approachable, they've got Prime A Shula Steakhouse, which is elite. The unprecedented level of entertainment and excitement is somewhere you can't find anywhere else than our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Let them take care of you. And again, we're going to be hosting events there all year, from cards watch parties to Suns when tip-off comes right around the corner in October. Tons of events. We had our draft party there. We had our league draft party here for PHNX Sports. It's our go-to spot for fun stuff like that. Check them out, Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Play at Gila.com. Damon, Dawg, for more information.
And I know we mentioned it last week, Johnny, but hey, you win big at Gila River Resorts and Casinos? Head on over to Sanderson Ford.
Ooh.
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you buy yourself a nice new shiny vehicle? America's truck, the Ford F-150. That's what people are calling it. And Ford just has great vehicles up and down their roster. The Mustang, the Bronco, they got the new Mustang SUV that's an electric vehicle. That one's pretty sweet looking. So head on over to Sanderson Ford. They got a great sales team over there. Really, really nice folks. We met them when we traveled over there and did some content with the folks over at Sanderson Ford. And they got some great deals over there as well, not just great customer service. If you go over there right now, they are offering a 5.9% APR for 66 months plus $2,000 on a 2024 Ford Bronco Sport. Tow Tree Derek, they were driving that thing around. They loved it. It's a great vehicle. And this is just a dealership that's more than a dealership. They're part of the community here in Arizona. They love helping out with like Arizona drives and causes. Right now, I mean, they're donating to St. Mary's Food Bank, Southwest Autism Research, Military Assistant Mission, Special Olympics, much more. So Sanderson Ford, not only are they our official car dealership of PHNX Sports, but they're also our friends. And we love those people. So head on over to Sanderson Ford. Get yourself a new shiny vehicle.
Big thanks to Sanderson Ford. Big thanks to everybody dropping in your super chats. We will get to them momentarily. Plus, drop a like on this video. The goal, like every post-game show, 800 likes is the goal. We're not even an eighth of the way there yet. We got almost 600 people watching live. Jump in. Again, let us know how you feel. I see a lot of positives in the chat. Hey, we had this one. We'll get them next time. We didn't look ready. Keim destroyed the depth on this team. I think all those things are true. The Cardinals, I feel like, need to start fast. Started fast last week, but then for whatever reason, today was not the case defensively. And then offensively, give the Lions credit. They made adjustments. What Cardinals made adjustments today for counting cards? Damon, Dawg, who do we like and who needs to, maybe step their game up heading into week 4? We mentioned it, Brittan Golden. Kyler Murray, 76.2 QB rating. Certainly not his best day as a pro, coming off what could be his best day last week. K1, 21 of 34, just 207 yards passing, 6 yards of completion, and then 76 is the rating. And then only took 1 sack on the day, too. So a lot to figure out. And then how about his top 2 targets there? Of course, Marvin Harrison Jr. had a touchdown early on in this game. Again, was regulated on just 5 catches on 11 targets. Michael Wilson, though, fared a little bit better. 8 catches on 9 targets. Both Marv and MHJ, 64 yards on the day. And then there was a steep drop-off in the passing game. So, in your opinion, Brittan, looking at these numbers, what do the Cardinals need to do to get the passing game back on track next week?
Well, I think it starts with the run game. I mean, honestly, when you're asking, you would love to see Kyler throw the ball. Yes, you would. But when you're asking him to throw the ball 35, 40 times a game, that's just letting me know that you're in desperation mode. That's where these double coverage throws get in, because you're trying to make up for 3 bad drives in one play.
Yeah.
Right? And he's an athlete. He's a competitor. He wants to make that throw. He wants to see Marvin Harrison catch that and do it. We all want to see it. Is it the right throw sometimes? No. But at the same time, when you have a non-existent run game and you're forced to make the pass, we just talked about this. A defensive, when you look at the Detroit Lions, right? They didn't have a great secondary, but they were able to drop 7 guys in coverage. They were able to drop 6, 7, 8 guys back there and not have to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
They know the pass is coming, right? And he's coming off of a perfect passer rating last week. The run game was working. You were moving the ball on the ground. It was opening up. Play action was working. You could take these shots downfield to Marvin Harrison and other guys. It looked good, right? This week, the run game was non-existent.
Yep.
So your pass game is going to be, it's tough to throw the ball when everybody knows you're throwing the football.
Yep.
I mean, and Patrick Mahomes has had the trouble Just the same.
Yeah.
We're talking about the best quarterback in football, however you want to call it. He's not throwing for 300 yards lately because they know that if they stop the run in Kansas City, they know the ball's going up in the air.
That's
it's
right.
The same thing that happened today, right? You had a 76.2 passer rating. Could it have been better? We hope it gets better, right? Could it have been worse? Yes, it could have been much worse. We could have been sitting here talking about, man, we threw 3, 4. I mean, you could have Caleb Williams that everybody was screaming for before the year started. I'll leave that. I'll drop the mic right there. But geez,
yeah, Arizona Cardinals have room for improvement, and I am at least content with knowing that improvement is internal here on the roster. Like defensively, if this game had ended up like 50-30 and the Lions had dog walked the Cardinals defensively for 4 quarters, like I'm going to just sit here and be like, what'd you expect? That's the personnel, right? But at least offensively, I know this personnel can score 40 points at the drop of a dime. They just have to do it. They just have to be more consistent.
I mean, they proved it last week that you can score it. You can put a 40 burger up any day of the week. It's just consistency on both sides.
They're not a finished product yet. The Lions have been contenders for 2+ years. The Arizona Cardinals are aspiring to get to where the Lions are. That doesn't mean the Cardinals can't contend for a postseason berth. I think they will. And I think hopefully we'll look back on this game and say, okay, there are enough good takeaways despite a loss to be able to build upon. And I also feel like, Brittan, like Jonathan Gannon, he comes out in the press conference and he's like, we match their physicality. Like, I have no issue with that. Like, I think your offensive line, despite not being able to run block today, did a hell of a job. Kyler Murray threw the football 34 times today and was sacked once. And most of the time had opportunities to sit in the pocket pretty clean and deliver the football. I think it's consistency in the passing game. I think it's getting on the same page with his receivers. Got to remember, this is only, I think, the 11th game he's played under Drew Petzing. So in a lot of ways, this is still like his rookie year with his play caller. Not really, but to some extent, like there's an unfamiliarity that they're working through, and then they're mixing in. Their number one receiver is a rookie that's played 3 NFL games. Like, there's going to be some growing pains there. But like I look at, defensively, as bad as the stats were for the Lions and their run game that gashed Arizona, I mean, a lot of that was in the first half. So I think the effort was there. I think at the end of the day, did you get hosed on a couple of calls? Absolutely. And do you need refinement on both sides of the ball defensively in the first half, offensively in the second half? Absolutely. But I mean, there's nothing to say, like, if these two teams played later this year, like the Cardinals would have an opportunity just like they did today to win the game.
No, I get it. I mean, at the end of the day, you just got both sides of the ball. Just, you got to be better, right? You can talk about it, and we can put every scenario out here, right? Consistency is the key. Consistency wins you football games in the NFL. If you are not consistent, it's not going to be easy to win football games.
Yep.
If you are consistent, you're in a game. You have a chance to win a game every week. And the Cardinals had a chance to win this game multiple times today and were not consistent.
Yeah. Just
offensively, extremely inconsistent. You have many times to win this game not playing your best football. So if you want to, do the moral victory here, which it sucks to do it, but moral victory wise is sitting here saying, hey, we played a top team in the NFC today and we took them down to the wire playing arguably our worst football of the year in the first 3 games.
I do want to bring something up, and I would be remiss if I didn't. By the way, everybody drop a like in the chat as we work our way to our goal here on a PHNX Cardinals postgame. A lot is being made about the crowd and how many opposing fans were in the stands at State Farm Stadium. And that has nothing to do with the outcome of the game, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. But Saul Bookman on Twitter, shame on every Cardinals fan that's sold out by selling their tickets like a damn home game for Detroit. Makes me sick. I would imagine a lot of those were probably purchased before the start of the regular season. That's not an excuse, but I think a lot of people, not this podcast, but a lot of casual Cardinal fans, maybe even diehards, are waiting and seeing with this new regime and this team. And so, do I want to see Cardinal fans sell their tickets? No. It makes me sick. I want a home field advantage. But the Cardinals have done a lot of losing lately. And the best way to get back in the good graces of your fan base is you got to put a product out there. And there are comments to Saul's tweet that I agree with. Like, you got $35 million you didn't spend. Where's that money? How's that helping us win? Like, I think you can't have your cake and eat it too and be like, well, we don't want fans in our stadium, but we also have these resources that we didn't spend. Like, it's an inexact science of you need legacy, you need consistency, you need winning, You need stars to drive people to the stadium. I think they're definitely working toward that, but you also you don't want to see opposing fans in your stadium.
Well, no, I saw a comment in the chat just now. Like you took a massive part of that stadium where you had a lot of Cardinals fans in that end zone, in the red zone, and you turned it into casitas that cost $40,000 to rent out. Like, I mean, you talk about spending money. We're spending money on the wrong stuff.
The
wrong things. Like, why do we got small homes over there that you got to pay $40,000 for to sit there and watch a football game? Right? There's a select few people that can afford that.
And it's, again, like I think, having lived here just a few years, I think there's a lot of transplants from the Midwest that come here. And again, you could make an argument, what have Lions fans had to do to earn this kind of fan base in Arizona? Well, they're winning a lot of games right now. They were in the NFC Championship game last year. There's a lot of good mojo with that team. I look back on the peak, Kurt Warner years and the CPOM years, the teams you were a part of, Brittan. Like, Cardinal fans turned out for those games. So I think you got to do a lot to get people to want to consistently pay a lot. Like, I know season tickets went up this year. We encourage you guys to check out our friends at Game Time. Like, they have, in my opinion, the best deals hands down. But a lot of people, until this team earns their trust back, are not going to be rushing to the stadium to buy parking, concessions, pay big money for tickets. Now, is that my mindset? No. If I wasn't doing this show with all of you, I'd be there with my son every single football Sunday. He would want to go to the stadium every opportunity. And that's great, but that not everybody has that option. If people are like, you know what, I can only go to so many games a year, I'm not going to do that for a team that, fair or not, I mean, they have won 9 games in 2 years. Now, 2 years and a couple games. Yeah. So you got to just win more. That's my answer. And for people who are upset about selling tickets, I get it. It stinks. I hate it. But this team has to put forth a consistent product where people know what to expect. And they're getting there, like we just talked about. Yeah. They are in these games, and they're going to win some of them this year. They're not supposed to. And they have some star power finally. And Trey and Kyler and Marv and Michael Wilson, players that we know. But damn, Brittan, like we were talking about last year, when Kyler Murray was hurt, we would go up and down this roster. Who could you even buy a jersey of that you were assured that was going to be good long-term? We're still feeling the lingering effects of that. Now, a lot of that I put on the prior regime and the general manager, who for whatever reason is getting a lot of run on social media this week. One of the biggest reasons I think you can be upset as a Cardinal fan is the prior regime put this team in a hole that this new regime, are trying to dig themselves out of.
They're trying. I mean, and so far, we can't really, there's nothing we can say that's bad about what the regime has done so far. But like you said, you were in a hole. You were in a hole. And you can sit here and try to blame everybody. You still got guys that are NFL players that are on this roster that still have to make the plays. They still have to show up every week. And, I mean, they're getting paid a lot of money to do this, right? Show up and play.
Yep.
And absolutely. I saw an interview with Shaq the other day where he was talking about, the Rudy Goberts and everybody who were complaining. He said, you guys are getting paid all this money. Play hard. Mm-hmm. That's all I can ask for.
And the Cardinals are doing
thousands of dollars to play hard. And the Cardinals are showing up as a whole. Defensively, offensively, for the most part, these guys are coming out here and they're playing hard, right? And it just goes back to the consistency on, making the plays happen. So, I mean, you can regime it all you want to, but the guys we have in place right now, I think, are the right guys for the job.
I agree.
We've been trending up since they've got here. Right. I mean, it's to the point now where when you sit here as a fan of watching this team, it's like, hey, we should have won this game.
Yeah.
Compared to early last year and the year before when we were sitting here like, God, I'm just hoping that we can stay in this game. Right. Now we're mad about dropping the close games, which you should be. Everybody should be.
Raise the standards.
The standards are raised now. You've got guys in place, coaching staff. General managers, you've got guys on this team. Like, you got guys that can create plays. You got guys that can do good things for your team. It's to the point of now you've got to put it together. The standards are raised. It's no longer, the rebuild is done. All right, you can talk about it, rebuild all you want to. We did that last year. And with the last 2 drafts, you've got guys that are playing well, young. You're doing what you're supposed to do from a GM standpoint. Now it's getting on, and when you're on the field, making the plays.
Damon, Dawg, do we have some footage from the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals? I know he just spoke to the media.
We're working on it.
And our guy, Brack, who's going to join us in a little bit, but he did confirm that Trey McBride has a concussion. So that will obviously impact his timeline to return ahead of next Sunday against Washington, a game that, again, Cardinals, if you hadn't checked it out already, Bet365, Cardinals are a 4.5-point opening favorite against Washington, who does play tomorrow night on Monday Night Football in a game that a lot of us feel like they have to win. I think it's another one of those early must-wins that we're going to talk about. But I think that, again, you're losing to teams in Buffalo and Detroit that are consistently in the mix to represent their conference in the Super Bowl. And what's frustrating is you see a lot of these frauds. I look at Seattle. Is Green Bay a fraud? Like these teams that get to play some cupcakes teams on their schedule, that will be the Cardinals eventually. It's not them yet. And the Cardinals also have a tough schedule just because they play in the NFC West. The NFC West, by the way, Seahawks leading it at a fraudulent 3-0. And then you've got the Niners, Cardinals, and Rams following the Rams' last-second victory, all at 1-2. So I echo the comments in the chat. This division still very much winnable. Wild card opportunity in the NFC still very much winnable. We're not even a quarter of the way through the season, and so we'll see. I think there's enough good coming from today outside of the end result to be able to build upon. And speaking of build, how about build your bank account with our friends at Bet365? Never ordinary. Again, 90 million users worldwide. Let's look back, if we could, on our pregame props with Bet365. We did a 3-leg parlay, and there it is. Marvin Harrison Jr. anytime touchdown. That hit. Kyler Murray, 25 or more rushing yards. That hit. Unfortunately, a quiet day for the all-pro running back James Conner. That did not hit. So, again, if you boosted it 500 to 550 with our friends at Bet365, we do remain, Damon, Dawg, 60%
guy. I'll give you
We're
that.
60% through the first 3 weeks of the season, hitting 2 out of 3, which is better than I can say for my efforts on Hold the Line and my prediction. But nonetheless, Cardinals don't get it done just like our parlay, but always getting it done for us is our friends at Bet365. Again, if you sign up right now, use the bonus code PHNX365, deposit $10, and do a bet of $5 or more, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets, no questions asked. I've used it, as have you. I love when people send us their winning ticket stubs with our friends at Bet365. They also have the first bet safety net offer. Place up to $1,000 on your first bet. You're going to get it received, matched up to $1,000. Again, so if you want to put big money on a big dog and be able to have that safety net, they are there to take care of you. And speaking of taking care of you, download the Bet365 app. Use the bonus code PHNX365 when you sign up. Got to be 21 years and older and physically located here in the great state of Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text NEXT STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov. Damon, for more information.
And of course, we are now sponsored by our friends over at Branded Bills. Branded Bills, an Arizona-based company. We know at PHNX Sports, we try to partner with the Arizona-based companies in particular because we love this great state. So does Branded Bills. If you look at their website, they got all kinds of State 48 type of hats. They got ASU hats. They got U of A hats. They even have GCU, I believe, Johnny.
Oh, wow.
If you look into that. So if you use code PHNX on your first order at Branded Bills, you'll be saving 20% off. They got the golf hats, the dad hats, the flat brims, the snapbacks, any type of hat that you really could want. And on top of that, if you have a softball team, a company, anything that you want to make custom hats, if you go to brandedbills.com, they're going to help you out with that as well. Like I said, 20% off your first order with code PHNX, local company from Mesa, Arizona. Head to brandedbills.com. Use code PHNX for 20% off your first order.
We're going to hear from Brack at State Farm Stadium in just a little bit. We're, of course, waiting to hear from the franchise quarterback, Kyler Murray. Perfect time, Damon, Dawg. Let's jump into some of these super chats.
All right, first super chat comes from Josh, $10. And by the way, I'm really hoping not to Ron Burgundy these ones, Johnny.
You're fine.
I'm a little bit scared of how mad Cardinals fans are going to be going into this.
We want the anger. We want the emotion.
Josh starts us off. When the defense comes out and performs this way, the offense has got to produce. Offensive play calling needs to improve against good defenses. Losing our third right tackle in as many weeks is awful.
Absolutely, Brittan. And again, it's nothing we haven't chatted about already. Thank you, Josh, for the super chat. I think it's a double-edged sword because like you are happy with the defensive performance, but you are frustrated that the offense should have done more, could have done more, and it cost you an opportunity to steal. I emphasize steal another game you weren't favored to win.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and yeah, we've talked about the entire time. Defense played specifically in the second half. The defense played phenomenal. They allowed 0 points. They got the ball. They got off the field, got the ball back to the offense, and the offense just didn't produce. And that's, that's the name of the game. If you don't produce, you don't score points, you don't win games. And that's just how it ended today.
Kyler Murray already approaching the podium here. We're going to have highlights at K1 in just a little bit. Damon, Dawg, let's keep these super chats going.
Next one comes from Thomas Christensen, $10. The 2-minute warning situation is a moot point. They had plenty of opportunities in the second half and pooped the bed.
Yeah.
They did indeed. We have opportunities for you to like this video. Again, goal is 800 likes here on a football post-game show with PHNX Cardinals. 20-10 at half. Detroit doesn't score again. I mean, Detroit scored on that Gibbs touchdown. They didn't find the end zone again. They didn't kick a field goal again. Cardinals had, I haven't counted, I would imagine at least 5 to 10 possessions in the second half. Couldn't do enough with it. I mean, it's really disappointing. And I think if you're the Cardinals, you have to have a short memory while trying to build on what worked well today.
90s Poppy, $2. Love MHJ, but the ball was forced to him too much.
There was a couple. There was the interception was a forced throw. I get it. He did force it, but I saw. I'm not gonna. I can't. I don't know how to make this not sound like I'm trying to take his back completely. If you watch the replay,
some of those
the DBs were not lined up.
Right.
The defense wasn't lined up. The corner wasn't out there yet, and he was moving out there. Kyler snapped the ball. He saw what he had. He didn't get enough on the ball. 2, he ran out of field to throw the deep ball.
Right.
I mean, was it forced? Yes. It was a forced throw. It's a bad interception. I get what he was trying to do, but, it looks like me trying to play Madden. I'm just trying to force it to the guy I need to go to.
Well,
but
and
it shouldn't have the problem was he had, I think it was Michael Wilson underneath on the crossing route.
Yeah.
I think he got a little bit of tunnel vision in that instance, knowing it was discombobulated.
Who can blame him, though? Come on. Like, with Marv,
with
literally
all the media problems he got week 1.
He electrified the stadium and he scored the opening drive and he looked like
it's tough.
He was walking on water out there.
Not making excuses for him because
they're not on the same page.
It was a bad throw.
They have not perfected the back shoulder fade yet. Like, and again, I go back to he's a rookie. He didn't get into the facility working with Kyler until May. They didn't have a preseason. They didn't do preseason together. You
don't have time, but you have time.
And I would rather lose with going to my best players. I don't want to see him targeting Tip Ryman out there. I don't want to see him targeting Chris Moore. I thought Marv was going to come down with some of those acrobatic, crazy catches, and he didn't. And then Kyler missed on him deep for a first down, and then Greg Dortch had a drop and McBride had a drop. The offense as a whole, everybody played a part in losing today. Not a single person should shoulder all the blame offensively. I think. The offensive line didn't block well enough in the run game. I thought outside of James Conner, the backs didn't look good. I'd love to see Michael Carter have a chance to come back and reemerge in this run game. And then I think all the receivers and K1, they got to get back on the same page. Keep it going, Damon Dawg.
Patrick T999 says QBs have bad games. K1 still best quarterback since Pete Palmer.
Correct.
I want to see a full season with Petzing. Gannon is a hell of a coach. Best since BA. That he showed up. Still a lot of things left.
I mean, that's a great point, Patrick. Brittan, people are crushing K1, and Kyler Murray has 1 pick and one touchdown and still at 250 yards. And there are people who are like, get rid of him. He can't play. And he's got 5 touchdowns to 1 interception on the year. And he's on pace to rush for 1,000 yards and have 3,800 yards passing. And people are like, get him out. He's a bum.
Couch GMs.
Are you insane?
That's what it is. You're a GM from your couch. Right? You were a star on your high school JV football team. And you don't like it when people don't perform well on TV. I get it. It's your entertainment. If you play a professional sport, you're an entertainer.
Yeah.
All right. And people are sitting at home and they don't like what they see when you don't win. And it's immediately burn the boats. You know what I'm saying? Oh, K1 is trash. K1's terrible. Trade him. Get rid of him. It doesn't matter who you bring in here. Nobody is going to be perfect. Nobody's going to give you everything you want to see each and every week. Patrick Mahomes doesn't give you everything you want to see. Josh Allen doesn't give you everything you want to see. I mean, we can go down the line, talk about him. Lamar Jackson. Nobody gives you everything you want to see every week. It's a tough league. Everybody gets paid. I don't know how many times I've said that today. These are all professional athletes. Elite of the elite. And they wouldn't be here if they weren't.
Lions have a stacked roster, man.
It's you're playing the best of the best every week.
Now, if we're sitting here next week and Kyler plays poorly against lowly Washington, then we have a different conversation. Yeah, then you can start having a conversation of he's got to play better. He looks terrible.
Does he need to be more consistent? Yes, but that can be said about every single player in National Football League.
Kyler's biggest knock against K1 was and will be until he proves this is his health. Can he stay healthy? He looks good to me. Like Kyler Murray, if he plays 17 games, I think this is a playoff team.
This is the thing. It comes down to this. Nobody's really worried about your opinion.
Yeah.
Because that check gonna clear every week, regardless of what you have to say about it.
Let's get back to the super chat.
Go ahead.
Valley Sports Fury, 100, whatever that is, says, I expected the D to struggle more, TBH, and the O to perform much better. It was the complete opposite. Murray didn't utilize his receiving core.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were some drops in there, and I think Kyler was inaccurate in the second half.
There's a few misreads outside of that, but I mean,
They also, I mean, like they were inside their 10 for what felt like every possession to start.
The second half, I felt like their average starting field position was on maybe the 10-yard line, 8-yard line.
They did. I mean, they stopped Detroit, and they got the Gardeck pick that they did nothing with. That hurt. That was bad.
That hurt.
The play calling on that possession where you get a pick from Dennis and then you run the ball 4 straight times and you can't get a first down.
Atrocious.
Like Drew Petzing's a good play caller. I'm still high on him. He didn't call his best game today.
Last week, great play caller.
Yeah.
Week 1, first half, great play call.
So week to week league, baby. Trash. You got to love it. Ant B, what do you got for us?
Ant B 199 says $200 million QB. He's got to win that game.
I mean, he's not the only $200 million QB that lost a close game today. So, I mean, yes, understandable. You want to see your high-paid guys win you football games. But, again, there's multiple $200 million quarterbacks in this NFL that did not win games today. So, you can't just sit here and say, Kyler is the problem all the time. You can if you want to. But if you actually know the game of football, we know that you are just sniffing paint cans.
It's a full season. You got to look at it as its entire resume. If Kyler loses to a bunch of other QBs this year, if he loses to Jaden Daniels next week, if he takes an L to,
if he plays bad for the rest of the season, bam, you're justified. But until then,
he was the best quarterback in the NFL coming into the day, based on everything. Lil Dreezy, 13.
199. All I'm going to say is we cannot lose to Cliff next week.
Oh, we got plenty of time to talk about that.
We'll talk about that all week.
That's a scary reality. And listen, like had the Cardinals won today, I was a little bit concerned that like the -4.5 line maybe would have been inflated, and there could have been an opportunity for the Washington Commanders coming here for an upset. Like I feel very confident this team is going to whoop on the Commanders next week, and we're going to get another dominant effort. But I mean, they got to put it together, but they have the pieces, and that Commanders team is so fraudulent. Let's keep it going, Damon.
Valley Sports Fury is back. I forgot it is the Thai bot that he's paying in right now. 100 Thai bots, and says, as a side note, Cards fans need to buy tickets. Way too many Lions fans in that stadium. It makes a difference. It's sad to see so much blue.
I mean, we want to see Cardinal fans, not Lions fans. Absolutely. They have to win more games. I think that's I'm trying to play both sides here.
It's coming.
Michael Bidwell wants to see a bunch of red, and then people want to look at Michael Bidwell and scream about
I don't really know if he does, honestly,
his decision. Yes, he does. Come on. So, I mean, like if I had to mediate Cardinal fans and Michael Bidwell, there could be an argument for both sides, but my argument at the end of the day is always going to be I support my team. We support this team, win, lose, or draw. So I'm with you.
Jeff Underhill, 499. Still a young team that hasn't been in a lot of big moments. Have to give them time and hope the coaching staff can improve this team in the second half.
Well said.
Yep. A lot of football left, and this has always been and will always be, we've highlighted it, the toughest stretch of the young season. We're going to stretch our legs, talk to our guy, Bo Brack, live from State Farm Stadium in just a second, but I'd be remiss if I didn't tell everybody I have an opportunity with our friends at Pit Boss Grill to win a free Pit Boss Grill. We're dropping the link in the chat description in the show notes. Again, I've got my eye on one. I might try to win it. But again, every single week this year, we are giving away one free Pit Boss Grill from our friends. And yeah, let us know who wins it. We'll give you a shout out on the Twitter streets. But big thanks to our friends at Pit Boss Grill. And big thanks to all of our sponsors today. We got a ton of them. We feel very fortunate. Drop a like on this video. Damon, Dawg, we still waiting on Bo?
He is just calling back in right now. I think we'll be ready up and running in about a minute here.
All right, perfect. Let's do another super chat. How about this from Adam H 999? Those that sell their tickets should be rewarded higher priority in seat selection or something. Don't sell their tickets. Well, again, like I think you've got to get to a point where people have a fear of missing out with this team if they're not going to the game, and that comes with legacy and winning and accolades and all that good stuff. We've got Mr. Accolade himself, Bo Brack, at the sideline of one State Farm Stadium until they boot him from the sideline. We'll see. Do we lose him? We got Bo?
It's just the technical side of things that you're looking at, Johnny. We're
grinding right now. Bo, can you hear me?
Trying to get some sound to boast about, though.
All right, well, full immediate takeaways. You had a chance to connect with both Jonathan Gannon and Kyler Murray following this Cardinals effort that, frankly, was very surprising with how the team played in the first half as opposed to the second half, shutting out Detroit, but offensively just not doing enough to get this team in an ability to win this game. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I think there was frustration with how they played offensively. Their defense showed up in the second half, shut out the Detroit Lions. So, there's frustrations that don't take away from the encouraging moments that they went toe-to-toe once again with the 2023 playoff team. Kyler Murray was overwhelmingly positive post-game press conference where he just echoed that and was just, hey, like we were close to this thing. Obviously, we had plays that we knew we could have made, but we didn't. But we're encouraged by how we performed, and we're going to figure this thing out and get those plays done in the future. So, obviously it doesn't make up for the fact that they fell short and that they couldn't get it going the entire second half. But I think that this team did some things that nobody expected them to do, including shutting out the Lions in the second half.
I mean, that's promising because, again, one of the biggest knocks that people have had on K1, Bo, has been his inability to move forward after tough losses, letting them weigh too much on him. And I think it's a lot of what Brittan and I have been echoing here in the studio is, yeah, like you'd have some opportunities back. The offense has to be better. But at the same time, like if this is the kind of defensive performance that you can get the kind of effort, you can build off of this. And there is still so much room for growth, Bo Brack, with this passing game. Like, what do you make of the disconnect, if you can call it that, between K1 and Marvin in particular? 5 catches on 11 targets for the Cardinals' number one receiver. I attribute it to he's in his third NFL game. They didn't play a preseason. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, at some point you would hope that the rookie pass catcher, 4th overall, starts to come up with some of those, right? If those 6 targets that did not end up in completions, is he going to start to come down with them? And they weren't like the easiest plays, right? I mean, they were 50-50s being generous, but you need to start to see that maybe trend more towards the direction of Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. K1, I don't know if you guys played the audio as far as his response to the interception in the end zone. He said it stung. It was maybe a play that he was a little bit maybe too amped up trying to make something happen at that point. But it is still a waiting game. It's still a process to get this duo on the same page. And unfortunately, when they were made one-dimensional, when the Lions made it clear they weren't going to get anything on the ground going, that they were going to somebody was going to have to step up and make a play in the passing game. And it looked like a little bit with Michael Wilson, but at the end of the day, like you needed something from Marvin and Kyler down the stretch, and you just didn't get it.
Damon, Dawg is going to queue up a little presser highlights here from Jonathan Gannon. Here was the head coach joining the Arizona media just moments ago.
Okay, real quick here, I got a little bit of a list on forget here. Tonga's got a little bit of a knee. JJ's got a tricep. Jackson's got a toe. And 85, last I heard, was being evaluated for a concussion. Flow of the game, I think, that's a good football team. 3 phases, we didn't make enough plays all 3 phases. Kind of what it came down to. It was kind of, it's put up, I think, 20 points in the first half, and then we played better on defense there. You'd like to see us get the ball back at the end of the game. Just didn't get it done. So it starts with me. I know the run game on offense didn't get quite going. We're on some third and longs versus a good rushing team, good covering team. So we got to do better on third down there, better in the run game, better everywhere, guys. But I did think we battled, we fought. Coming out of halftime, we were resilient, which I'm enthused about, which I told them. And if we keep playing like that and clean up some mistakes, we'll get back on track.
Bo, we just heard from the head coach. Do you feel like the Cardinals match the intensity and the physicality of Detroit? A Detroit team that, by the way, rushed for almost 200 yards, whereas the Cardinals could not develop a run game?
Yeah, I thought they did. As far as it was a bloodbath out here. I mean, there were players ducking out of this game from start to finish. Were they able to establish the run like Detroit? No. I mean, I think that their offensive line showed that it's one of the best in the league. But I think as far as the physicality, the staying in the fight, until the end, especially on the defensive side of the football, was very admirable. And I think that they started to kind of sway some people, especially on that end of things. Like they came up with plays, guys. Like Brittan did. I mean, we saw a defense that found the ability in the second half to continuously get off the field, to continuously put this offense in a position to go down and score. And unfortunately, they couldn't do it. But I think that they started to make a few believers out there. Some, when there was, otherwise naysayers about this defense and its ability to get off the field.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier in the show. I mean, beginning of the year, the defense was the biggest question of this football team coming in. We knew you had playmakers on offense. You knew you had guys that can change the game on offense. You have playmakers on your defense, but as a whole, it was a question. And honestly, outside of, a couple of quarters this season, the defense through 3 games has actually played a lot better than what anybody possibly believed, especially the second half today. Right? You shut down a very powerful offense to 0 points in an entire half of football after giving up, 20 in the first half. And it's just one of those things where when you have a defense that you're worried about at the beginning of the year that gets off the field and gives you 6 to 7 to 8 opportunities in a half with possessions, you've got to be able to score on at least 50% of those possessions. Like whether it's 3, whether it's 6, it doesn't matter. You've got to find ways to put points on the board. If you can't do that, then you're in a situation where you're in, right? You allowed 20 points in the first half. You allowed 0 points in the second half. Offensively, you got 13 points in the first half and didn't even sniff the red zone in the second half. That can't happen. Not with six plus possessions in a half. You've got to find a way to get the ball in the end zone, and that starts with play calling all the way to the execution from the players. Everybody's at fault on the offensive side of the ball today. It's just that point where we've talked about it this entire show in the postgame. The consistency of the offense has to continuously show up. We saw it in the first half, week 1. We saw it in the first half and part of the second half in week 2, especially to start the second half. This week, we saw it the first drive. I mean, it looked just like we saw the first couple weeks thinking, hey, we're back. We're going to do this again. And then it just went non-existent. The worry part for me is I think the play calling switches after we have a lot of success early. I think it turns into – I'm not an offensive coordinator, honestly. I actually called my first 11U tackle football game yesterday as offensive coordinator. We won, but that neither here nor there. It's to the point where I feel like we stop stepping on throats when we feel like we're doing well. We try to start managing a game instead of taking over a game. And last week, I think in the first half, we did a great job of taking over the game, coming out after halftime and getting points immediately on that first drive. You took over that game. You gave the Rams 0 sense of hope coming out of halftime. Right? They were getting blown out in the first half. But when you came out of halftime and literally stepped on their throat and said, hey, it doesn't matter what you do today. There's no way you're even coming close to winning this game. We did not do that in the second half, week 1. We didn't do that outside of the first drive of the game today. And I think that's the difference in it.
Well, Bo, I'll pose that question to you. I think a lot of people, after his dominant performance and play calling last week, a lot of questions now fall on Drew Petzing. And again, Kyler Murray was inaccurate. The receivers could do better. They could hang on to some passes. Trey, Marvin, and Greg Dortz all dropped passes. But your assessment of the second-year play caller who, again, it's a week-to-week roller coaster ride with Drew Petzing, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I think it was heavily a product of no balance. I mean, you just didn't have anything in the run game. Like, I hadn't seen James Conner shut down this bad since joining the Arizona Cardinals. They just didn't have anything. Like, they didn't have to account for, James Scott. Like, his longest run today was 7 yards, and it was late in the third quarter. It was right before the pick, and they were moving the ball. I think once you become undimensional or one-dimensional, your ability to become like this innovative play caller and really kind of move the football with ease, it goes out the window. Like, it comes down to guys having to make plays and execution. Like, when teams can gear up and try to take away the pass, especially on the perimeter, like, it's going to be tough to move the football, and we saw that. And, like, also credit to the Lions in as far as their special teams. I mean, 4 times they were pinning the Arizona Cardinals deep in their own territory. They had no room, really no room to maneuver out of there. Not to say that's where it comes down to it, guys making plays. Like, I don't know if you can really truly judge this and throw this on the shoulders of Drew Petzing's, play calling, but it's fun. You want to be able to find a way out of this, and he didn't today. But I'm not going to say, hey, like, so far his 24 resume is overall negative. Like, I still think that this offense has the ability to do a lot of good things. And, the opponent, we talk about the physicality on defense. They won that. They give credit to the Lions.
Give credit to them, absolutely. And Cardinals with a lone turnover today. It was Kyler Murray's interception. Here's the franchise QB on his second half pick in the end zone.
I just wish, I didn't have a blemish on my record, throughout the 3 games, and then to throw it up, that one stung, especially because I felt like we were going to score on that drive, and then to end it like that, it sucks.
It does suck indeed. Again, Kyler Murray, he will play better. I think we have full confidence in that. This team.
What did you guys see on that? What did the broadcast show? Did it show a frustrated? Like, I felt like Kyler was kind of wondering what Marv was doing on that. Did they give any kind of?
I think there was some question marks, Bo, of people I were talking to. Were they offsides? Were the Detroit Lions offsides? Did Kyler Murray think he had a free play? Now, I think we could maybe put that to bed, because I think if Kyler Murray thought that, he would have shared that here in the post-game presser. But, like, watching that, Brittan, he had a perfect pocket. I mean, perfect pocket. Nobody even touched him. And you had mentioned it. He had guys underneath open. I think it's just a combination of probably just underthrew it, and then also the timing and rhythm that's not yet there on every route with Marvin Harrison Jr. Because, I mean, there are 3 defenders in the end zone.
I did see he had Michael Wilson underneath. Don't get me wrong. The right read in that situation, dump it off. You got a 20-yard. If he gets tackled immediately, you got a 15, 20-yard play there. Yes. Before the play was started, I saw 2 DBs that weren't lined up. They were trying to rush out there to get out there towards Marvin and whoever else was out there. And I think Kyler saw there's a little bit of discombobulation and said, hey, they're not lined up. Maybe we can catch them off guard. The ball was underthrown at the end of the day. He didn't put enough on it. I think maybe he thought, hey, they're not ready to go. I can lob this up there. He can go get this. This is my number 1 playmaker. He didn't. He threw. It was a forced throw. I think he predetermined based off of what he saw defensively. He saw 2 DBs not lined up. I think he predetermined in his head, I'm going to throw this ball here instead of actually going through the read. He let it go. It was a bad throw. It didn't have enough juice on it. It was short, and it ended up being an interception. Right? It's one of those that in the presser you heard him say it. Right? It wasn't good. Right? He'd love to have that back. Right. And it's one of those throws that, yes, at the end of the day, you're like, gosh, I wish I could bring that throw back. Did I force it? Yes, probably. Did I not make the right read? Yes, I know I didn't. This is a mistake I've made. And I think this is the growth you see Kyler Murray from years past to Kyler Murray now, is he stood up in front of the media and basically just told you it's a bad throw. Shouldn't have made that throw. It's an interception that I didn't need, that I shouldn't have thrown. And this is where we're at.
It is indeed. More from Bo Brack at State Farm Stadium. But first, I want to tell you about our friends at Circle K. More from them is always a good thing. How about more savings with our friends at Circle K? America's thirst stop right now. Join the Inner Circle for free. 79-cent Polar Pops or Frosters. How about 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups off? And then every day after that, 3 cents per gallon off. You like saving money? I sure do, especially in this economy. Circle K is going to hook you up. All you got to do, download the Circle K app today. Join the Inner Circle for free, and The best part is the deals we're talking about doesn't stop there. Go to the app, look under discounts in the app, look under offers, and you're going to be able to see the bounty of savings, the bounty of goodies that you're going to get with our friends at Circle K. I was dabbling on some Circle K goodies here in the studio, despite the Cardinals L today. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details. Also, check out our friends at Empire today. I know a thing or two. I'm a new homeowner. Bad flooring can set you back, just like a bad offensive line. Upgrade today, but do it wisely with our friends at Empire today. $350 off is the bonus code you want to use. PHNX $350. That's nothing to sneeze at. Also, fast, efficient, elite customer service. The selection is immaculate. I've seen people try to do it themselves. I've seen people cut corners. They get a handyman. They go on Yelp. They find people to give us the cheapest deal. Well, how about a great deal with great people and great customer service, and they do it timely and efficiently? Again, all listeners, a $350 discount off. No questions asked using the bonus code PHNX. See EmpireToday.com/PHNX for more details. Again, EmpireToday.com/PHNX for more details. Bo Brack live from State Farm Stadium. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up what was an egregious no call by the officials right before half, the Mack Wilson interception for a touchdown that was nullified. What was the reaction in the stadium when that happened, and how do you think it impacted the Cardinals? Because I do feel like after that play, the team was basically like, get us to the half.
Yeah, and I think you guys played the JG clip where he's saying that's an uncontrollable and talked about their response, but their immediate response was giving up 14 on 3rd and 12 on a draw play. That can't happen. That was a huge swing. And then, they hit him with the hook and ladder, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs, and it was just a deflating way to end the hat. Now, the offense responded, had a good little drive there to get points before going to the locker room and turning that thing into a 2-possession game. But, it was truly an unfortunate thing. Now, we're getting the insight as far as from the referees and the head of officiating as far as what exactly went on there. And you just looking at it from different angles, some you'll see 2:01 left on the clock, and then others you'll see right at 2, was it the right call or not? In real time, it looked like, the ball is snapped. As far as our vantage point from the press box, nobody noticed any whistle or the play being called dead. I mean, it starts, and then, next thing you know, Mack Wilson has his hands on the football, and it looked like it was just going to be a play right before the 2-minute warning, and it unfortunately gets, negated by, the officiating crew here for the Cardinals-Lions game, and they just it ends up turning into, a trip to the end zone for the Lions instead of the other way. I mean, it was brutal, right? But it didn't take away the Cardinals' ability to win the football game. There was also the drive, and the Dennis Gardeck, Johnny Venerable apology tour needs to continue as Gardeck comes up with the huge turnover there and puts the Cardinals offense in a great position, great starting point, but it ends up in turning it over on downs. Like, where did the tush push go? Like, why, the idea to send Kyler Murray trying to, stretch this thing for a first down. I know he initially got it, but it looked like it was the right call to overturn it. And to give the ball right back to Detroit, even though the defense continued the ball out and get right back off the field. It was missed opportunity for points in that one. And I think that was a true turning point, post, this 2-minute debacle.
Well, Dennis Gardeck already got his flowers. He will continue to get his flowers here on this post-game
He will
show.
always get his flowers.
That's right. The apology tour continues. He was our X Factor, well-deserved player of the game. And I thought, Bo, frankly, when he picked that pass off, I'm like, well, here we go. They're going to wake up. Yeah. They're in the opposing side of the field, and then this offense kept doing what it was doing all second half, and that was just about nothing. So that was disappointing. But again, it's just a single game. Cardinals have a prime opportunity to get back on track next week against the Washington Commanders, who again play on Monday Night Football. Like this video, by the way. We're going to get back to Super Chats, but I do want to hear from the head coach, Jonathan Gannon, because there were a couple of injuries as it relates to this team. As Bo mentioned, the Cardinals not coming out unscathed. Here's JG.
No, I mean, anytime you score, I'm not going to take the bait on that, Darren. Like, yeah, but with saying that, our guys are psychologically trained. That's an uncontrollable for us. So what we can control is let's play defense. You know what I mean? And they hit us on the one, well-designed play there. But I thought that when we came in at halftime, no one was down. You know what I mean? No, everyone was, okay, here's what we need to do. And I thought the defense played extremely well in the second half to give ourselves a chance to get back in the game. Like I said, I thought he played extremely well. You know what I mean? When he got the nod that his role changed late in the week there, he was ready to go and stepped up and played.
So
Hey,
again,
Johnny, you got the transcript there from the officiating crew. Official word on the
is it an
2-minute
apology
debacle.
letter? It should say, "I'm sorry, I'm dumb, you're smart, I'm stupid, you're not. I'm
Yeah.
not very good looking, you are very attractive." Is that what it says?
I don't
No,
know
that
about
should be
that
your
last
Dennis
part, Johnny.
Kardec apology. That should be your Dennis Kardec apology. What's it say? Craig Morgan has sent you the text. I can't read it from where I
They
am.
said, "We're big dummies. We screwed up. We know we screwed up. We cost the Cardinals the game. We blew our whistles. We're not paid enough. One of us had a potty break when that happened. One of us was eating some Oreos." Now, it's a bunch of official speak. Not to downgrade what they're sending out. I don't really care what the officials say because, again, I saw it with my eyes during the game and in the postgame. They blew that call. Did it cost the Cardinals the game? I don't know. Like, the Cardinals lost this game by 7 points. That was a 7-point swing. But I don't really want to hear from the officials because, again, it's all Brittan Golden. It's damage control at this point. It means nothing to me. We all know the rules. The rules are if he snaps it before the 2-minute warning, guess what? The ball, it's a live ball. And they did that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that it cost you the football game. Did it cost you an opportunity to win the football game?
Yeah.
Yes, but you had multiple opportunities in the second half to put points on the board, and you didn't do it. So would that have helped? Yes, it would have helped tremendously. One, it saves you. One, however you want to look at it, we scored there. It gets negated. They score. So it's essentially it's a 14-point swing there that you lose. It hurts you, but again, if you can't put the ball in the end zone when you have 6 to 7 opportunities in 30 minutes, you kind of hurt yourself.
They hurt themselves. Time of possession as well as other key metrics. Let's get to our friends at By the Numbers today for the Arizona Cardinals, again hosting the now 2-1 Detroit Lions. Arizona Cardinals did eclipse the Lions with passing yards at 200 to 186, but the run game so lopsided, as well as the third down conversions. Both the Cardinals came into the NFL number one in third down conversions. They got mollywhooped today, 1 of 9, as opposed to Detroit, 50% at 6 of 12. What do you attribute that to?
I mean, tight coverage, putting, Kyler Murray, as far as he came into 11 for 11. There was the one to Michael Wilson with that he's able to secure, but a bobble. It was they just weren't getting it done on third down. There was several opportunities. They put at 4th and 1 that if they're able to just get one more yard, they're converting and really giving themselves space and the ability to run more offense, more of a traditional offense, and maybe get into some balance. And I think, unfortunately, that's that might be the stat of the game right there, 1 for 9. And then you got, the Lions converting on over 50%. That was huge. That was a huge, difference in this football game.
The run game says it. The run game statistic tells you everything. All right, when we go out there and we've got 120, 150 plus rushing yards as an offense, everything's working. We have actual opportunities to win football games because now you've got teams that have to stack a box. When James Conner's running for 5 yards a clip, these teams are like, hey, we got to put 8 guys in the box. We've got to find ways to stop him running the football, which now you've got one-on-one coverage on the outside. You didn't have a lot of that today because you couldn't run the football.
No.
So the Detroit Lions said, hey, we're going to trust our front 4, our front 3 to just dominate that line of scrimmage. They can't run the ball anyway. Let's just do that. We'll drop 7. We'll drop 8 and make them have to force throws into tight and double coverage. And that's what they did today. Yep. The run game for the Cardinals sets up everything in this offense. And you saw it today. I think it kind of throws Petzing. I don't know if he knows what to do when his run game
It's a
doesn't
great
work.
point.
I think it gets to the point where his run game's not working, and he's looking at this play call sheet like Coach Britt was yesterday when he didn't know what to call because he's never been in this situation. You know, I think he starts looking at it and he's like, well, and it's just a panic almost. It's like, we'll just run this.
Yeah.
We'll just run this. And because you can see the difference last week when the run game was working, we were moving the ball on the ground. You can see the difference in the passing play calls and when they start to work. Right? When you get one-dimensional in this league, you get exposed. And today, it happened, especially in the second half. You got exposed on the offensive play calling side because you were one-dimensional. The only thing you could do was throw the football.
Yeah. I do feel like that's a great point. Drew Petzing, again, when things are going well, he just doubles and triples down on it. But when he has to make adjustments sometimes, like usually when we're talking about this team last year and this year and good adjustments, it's usually come from the defense, where the defense maybe has a bad first half, but they come out and they play above their skis. Offensively, I mean, when was the last time where it was like, hey, they no-showed the first half, but man, they came out cooking in the second half? Usually it's like a barrage of points in the first half, and either they ride it out to victory or they putter out. I need to see, people have been waiting, Bo. We'd mentioned this on the halftime show. The Cardinals in this regime, the JG era, save for the Philadelphia game, they need to see a game where the teams go back and forth, that the Cardinals come out on top, that they have adversity early on, that they rally in the third and fourth quarter, and not everything goes right. They've got a turnover. They don't win time of possession. The run game's not available, but they find a way to win. Would you attribute that to lack of experience, coaching, depth on this team? I mean, what would you say to that?
I guess maybe that's glass half full grasping as far as that goes. But no, I mean, I think that's a skill that you learn, and the only ability to do that is to continue to play tight games. And right now, you're 0 for 2 in those situations, right? Albeit against two teams that people have high expectations for, that have kind of laid the groundwork to be, make deep runs into the respective conference playoffs. But at the same time, it doesn't make it disappointing because you see on full display, like last year, when the few times it happened, like Houston, Chicago, games where, and in Philly, it turned out that they could win that game, but where they came up short and you're sitting there frustrated at the offense, like, hey, you didn't make enough plays to win the game. The defense actually helped you, wanted to play complimentary football, and you couldn't oblige. So, yeah, it is going to be a skill that they're going to have to learn. Like coming off of week 1 where they blow the lead, and then week 2 they take a lead and extend it, and then take the air out of the opponent's lungs, and then this week they just can't get it going, and are chasing the Lions all game long. So there's just different styles and different games that they're going to be in, and now with raised expectations in a better roster, people want to start to see the results start to shift to them figuring it out. But this is early in the process, but so far 0 for 2 against opponents that are a little bit further down the road here.
Get back to Bo Brack and your super chats, but first, we teased it earlier, be remiss. Check it out. He was on full display today, the MHJ 18 collection right now, front and center, a little touchdown celebratory. We still haven't seen that from Marvin. Keeping it very calm, cool, and collected with his touchdown celebrations. But then, of course, the Maserati Marv. And then this has been true each of the last 2 weeks, the touchdown math tee, 1 + 18 = 6. I thought, Brittan, after that touchdown in the first quarter for Marv, it was going to be another big afternoon. Credit to Detroit. They were able to play physical, and Marv, while still having a good day, I tweeted out, Marv's on pace for everybody freaking out for about 1,100, 1,200 yards receiving and 17 touchdowns this year. So I think, and this offense is not a finished product, and they're playing tough defenses. I mean, I think he's at least a lock for double-digit touchdowns at this rate.
No, I mean, I don't think there's anything. I mean, we're in week 3, right? We saw a big breakout game from him last week. We saw 1 catch for 4 in week 1.
Yeah.
It's starting to trend, right? You had a 3-target game week 1. You had, 8 targets last week, 8 to 10 targets last week. You had 11 targets this week. It's just getting on that same page, right? When they figure out that back shoulder ball, that's going to be an actual problem.
Deadly.
Right? I mean, you can start looking back and think of the old Aaron Rodgers and Jordy Nelson connection way back then, right? Jordy Nelson could run full speed, and Aaron Rodgers put that thing on the back shoulder, and it was clockwork. That he knew where it was going to be. He knew how to make that adjustment and get there. That's all it is, right? It's just finding that connection and being consistent with it. And they're getting close. It's getting there. Would you like to see it happen faster? 100%. But it's to the point, right? I mean, you just got to make the connection. It starts in practice, right? It starts finding that, and you have to practice that.
Yeah.
Right? The difference is Aaron Rodgers and Jordy Nelson were practicing. Even you go to Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, they were practicing that back shoulder ball in practice. Like, that was a throw that he probably made 8 to 10 times a practice, right? So now when it comes into the game, we've done this 25 to 30 times this week in the 3 days of practice we had.
Yeah.
Not game, it's second nature. Are they doing this in practice? I don't know. I'm not at Cardinals practice. But it's to the point where you've got to find ways to start connecting. Now, at the same time, this is from a receiver standpoint, you got to come down with some of these 50-50 balls. Right? It's not an easy catch. But to be an elite receiver in this league, right? To be a Larry Fitzgerald-esque type receiver as the Cardinals have had for so long, you got to make the plays you're supposed to make, and you got to make the plays nobody else can make. That's what changes. That's what separates you from being an elite guy to being the 4th or 5th receiver on the depth chart, right? That was the difference between Larry Fitzgerald and Brittan Golden back in the day, right? Larry made all the crazy plays that came his way. He made these catches. He made catches he wasn't supposed to make. That's the difference, right? So you want to see it happen sooner than later, but for Marvin to take that step to be a true number one, to be a true superstar in this league, some of those 50-50 balls that he got his hands on that might have got bad at the same time, or it was, a bang-bang play, he's got to find a way to come down with these.
We're going to come down with these super chats here. Damon, Dawg, let's rapid fire these en route to some final thoughts here from Bo Brack at State Farm Stadium. Looking ahead to Washington, let's start with Adam H.
We already did Adam H, actually, so let's start with PR Mac, $2. Any update on Darius Robinson, health and return?
He is scheduled right now to return as early as
It'll be week
2
5.
weeks. Yeah, week 5. Now, will remains to be seen if he's activated. Could the Cardinals slow play that? Justin Jones' tricep injury, Bo Brack, could expedite their want to bring back Darius Robinson. What more can you tell us on the injury front for the Cardinals?
Yeah, I think that Darius Robinson's on track, regardless of the Jones injury. I think that, we saw a big play from Dante Stills in his absence, 2 of them actually. But, no, I think that Darius Robinson could be right on schedule as soon as he's available after week 4 here next week to return in some capacity for the Cardinals defense. What
about Trey McBride? Is he in concussion protocol? Does he have a concussion? What can you tell us?
It sounded like he's in protocol from JG's comments, but we'll see where he's at tomorrow. We'll talk to the Cardinals head coach, following this at the facility tomorrow. McBride doesn't want to come out ever, but the NFL kind of they're flexing on him and make sure he goes through everything and make sure he's going to be healthy going forward. So it seems like he's in some sort of, I guess you're either in or you're out. My guess is he's in the protocol.
Damon, Dawg, let's keep these going, my guy.
That guy, Angelo, friend of the program, says $2, says defense gave opportunity. Murray forced it to Marvin.
Again,
we talked about it. Just forced passes.
Forced to your best player. That's my theory. Not the run game wasn't working. Who else are you going to throw to? Trey McBride went out with a potential concussion. Marv and Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch. He was throwing the ball to all those guys. Just were they inaccurate? Were there some drops? It's not a finished product yet. So it's hard to play quarterback in this league to begin with. It's especially hard when your offense is one-dimensional.
Nazar, $4.99. Can we talk about MHJ? Too many drop passes. He seems to only show up for flashy plays.
I mean, there was a couple drops.
I'll give you that, my guy.
There was a drop. There might have been one actual drop, maybe. It was still a tough catch to make. It was still in traffic. But, again, he's a rookie. There's going to be growing pains of rookie. I don't care how good you were in college. Everybody has growing pains. We've seen this year in and year out. You've seen the top-tier players in college show up in the NFL and become average football players. We've seen it forever. Now, you do have your guys that were top tier that continue to be top tier, but this is a tough game. This is not college football anymore. You can't show up wearing Louis V cleats and an Apple Watch in the NFL and expect to be that guy. It's not going to happen. Everybody out here is a top tier player, right? So he's young. He's getting it. It's only his 3rd game. Literally, he played no preseason games. we not counting the first preseason game because he literally went out there and he just stood on the outside edge for 3 plays. That wasn't a game, right? He's played 3 games. It's growing pains. Everybody's going to have it. I would rather see growing pains early than late. All right, if they're early and we're not connecting early, that's okay. Now, if it's late in the season and we're still seeing this situation where he's not coming down with some of these difficult catches, then maybe we can have this conversation. But for now, it's going to happen. It's going to come up. He knows. He's got a dad at home who's got a gold jacket, all right? He's hearing it. I promise you he's hearing it as soon as he gets out of that locker room.
The work ethic's not a problem. The coaching's not a problem. The athletic ability's not a problem. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald had a pretty uneventful rookie season, and Marv is on pace to have a way more substantial impact. I mean, he's the number 1 receiver for this team already. He's been in the NFL for 5 minutes. I'm pretty happy with the returns. Maybe I'm in the minority. Baharo 3, $2. K1 average almost 10 yards per carry on the year. Run him more. I would say that's kind of, what the defense is giving you, especially with his body size. I did think that they would be able to exploit that a little bit more, Bo, because Detroit's defense has struggled with mobile quarterbacks, and he got off to such a strong start running the ball in this game. But give credit where credit's due. Was that just Detroit kind of clamping things down second half?
Yeah, it could have been a product of that. I mean, we saw the 33 yards on the first series where they marched down for a score, and he did it both with his arm and his legs. And I think there were a couple times where it looked like he just tried to make a bigger play downfield where he might have had some running lanes, and you would have liked to see him tuck it, but that wasn't on a design run. So yeah, there wasn't a whole lot, outside of the 4th and 1 where there was like design runs for K1. But yeah, it's something that you might look back at and say, hey, you could have maybe established the run in a different way that way, but just never did it.
It's a double-edged sword, right? You want to see him, especially when you see the success he had on the first drive. You want to see it. You're like, hey, why are we not designing runs for Kyler Murray to get out? But at the same time, listen, we just got him back from a knee injury.
It's a physical team. Right? That's a physical team too.
That is a physical football team to have your quarterback out there running 8 to 10 to 12 times a game and just taking shots. Right? You don't want to see him take shots. Yeah, would you like to see him slide in situations? Yeah, but there's moments where it's 3rd and long and you're calling for error, 3rd and 8, 3rd and medium, you're calling for, hey, tuck this ball and run. He can't slide in this situation, not unless he's already got the first down. This is a situation where it's like, hey, we need you to drop your shoulder and try to fall forward. Right, and we saw what dropping your shoulder happens with Trey McBride and the safety from, and Burns. Burns, I think, is who it was. I mean, it was one of those. Yeah, Brent. It's one of those situations where, is that what you really want to see? You want to see him run, but do you really want to see him run, try to make a play? And now you're looking at your starting quarterback's got to sit for a week or so with a concussion protocol. He took a bad shot. Listen,
the season's over if Kyler Murray gets hurt.
It's 100%. You're looking like the Miami Dolphins right now if you lose Kyler.
That's right.
Sorry, Dame. I know you don't like to hear that, but
so sorry. Truth. Brian L. rounding us out with 3 super chats that are all bangers. $20, first of all. Thank you so much, Brian. Just agree. Gannon messed up when he went for it on 4th down. Should have been more design runs for Kyler early on downs. And F the refs. They got money on the game. Investigate. And then he followed up with a couple super chats. Ignore the last sentence. Which we will, no worries. Phone was glitching out, and then he says, frick Steve Keim. And again, we talked about that earlier, Bo Brock, with regard to the amount of Detroit Lions fans in the stands. I think that comes with maybe frustrations, Bo, of not enough winning, and people want to keep their options open, and I can see both sides to the argument. Obviously, I want Cardinal fans at State Farm Stadium, but I also understand this team. We've seen this team win 9 games in 2 years and 3 games. So I think it's the problem takes care of itself when you put a good product on the field.
Yeah, and you see that, on the other side. Like, Michigan's been starving for a good football team forever. They finally have one that has Super Bowl aspirations, and there's so many transplants here, and I hate that excuse, but there's a lot of people from the mitten there that are purchasing tickets and willing to pay high dollar, and hopefully Arizona Cardinals fans are become like, as this organization continues to move forward and trend in the right direction, you got more Cardinals fans wanting to be on the other side of people selling their tickets. It's unfortunate. It's not going to be an immediate fix. Yeah, there was a ton of Honolulu blue screaming and making a lot of loud noise amongst the red seat.
Like this video. Again, we've had a banner day at coverage despite the frustrations today. Big thanks to everybody who came out to the chicken and pickle tailgate. Again, we've got watch parties coming up for our road games at Gila River Resorts and Casinos Wild Horse Pass. Mina Kimes is going to join us later this week to break down the Cardinals through 3 games. And, of course, full coverage tomorrow as it relates to JG and company the next day. Of course, we dive into our coverage with the Commanders. Can the Arizona Cardinals jump back to 500? We'll have to put 500 or better on the back burner this week. But again, I still feel very good. I know, gentlemen, you do as well. I feel great about this community. Become a diehard. Go PHNX.com. Pick up a free hat and or shirt every single year. You are a diehard. I'm sure the member Discord is popping off today. Let your frustrations be known. Drop comments down below. It helps circulate the video. What do you think the Cardinals need to do? Is this DEFCON 1? Do they need to go out and make some moves, or do you believe the options that they have internally can fix the problems that they have? Plus, drop a like. The goal on every postgame show, 800 likes or better. For Bo Brack at State Farm Stadium, he's the playmaker on fire today. Brittan, Golden, Damon, Dawg, big thanks to you producing not 1, not 2, 3 shows today. I'm Johnny Venerable. Big thanks to all of you. We're back on a Football Monday. See you soon.
We all silly like the mayor.